So I was very kindly invited to see a performance of the immersive production of The Great Gatsby in London. And I have to say that this was the first time I've ever actually gone to see an immersive piece of theatre. Now, the word immersive with theatre has such a wide range of meanings that the word itself kind of feels a bit meaningless until you actually know what the production's about. Anything from cabaret, which is kind of immersive because of the way how you enter the theatre and how that starts off, whereas the actual kind of production itself isn't really immersive. To something being called immersive just because it's set in the round, or you know, something a bit more like The Great Gatsby, where you yourself are a part of the story. This is what I'm going to dub for the rest of this video as true immersive. All of these productions are immersive, technically, due to different elements, but I guess true immersive is a good way to describe this. So today, I thought I'd give you my thoughts, and I thought I'd spill all the secrets of my experience at The Great Gatsby. If you haven't seen this beautiful face before, yes, I did do my makeup today, and yes, I do look stunning. Hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I do reviews. I make content. I mix up that content. I serve it to you on a silver platter. And if you want more of that good content, why don't you hit the subscribe button? And also like this video. You're not going to go against my wishes, are you? On my own video? How dare? During Pride Month? How dare? So, let's set the scene. I have just arrived in London. I have come for an amazing day of theatre. I have brought my mother because I thought this was the type of production my mum would like. So, we arrive at Immersive London. Downstairs, you can hear the sounds of Doctor Who, The Experience, which I think was closing the day after I went. And upstairs, you can hear the swinging jazz, which, honestly, I found very funny, the contrast between the bombastic Doctor Who music and the swinging 20s. I would like to try and recreate this in my editor right now. I'm making my job so much harder. Here you go. Editor Ellie, please recreate what it sounded like to be standing on that stairs. As you walk up the stairs, you are greeted by a man called Rosie Rosenthal, as you are thrown into the immersion straight away, as you are greeted by one of the actors. This was great. I mean, from the very start, before you even enter, you are there and it starts to set the scene. It kind of eases you in quite well, so that you're not just like thrown into the immersive theatre experience straight away. And Rosenthal lays out the basic rules. Don't shout over the actors. You're allowed to speak to them, but if they're speaking to each other, don't talk to them. Don't go too heavy on the alcohol. And, you know, the general gist of don't be an arsehole. We're ushered into this beautiful area. There's this bar with this flower wall behind. That's the best way I can describe it. A flower wall. Yeah, Ellie. Cool. Well done. Near the bar, there's a giant wall of flowers that looks absolutely beautiful. There's a small cloakroom area, which is just a tiny little window, so it doesn't break up too much of the immersion of the full room. There's a little balcony area, and there's an area for the band, who are also the actors in the show, funnily enough. And if you know me, as soon as you put, actor musicians into a show, the points go up from there to there. I love actor musicians. I think it's so cool. This band area is completed by a giant piano, and they actually do wheel a piano around the main performance area, which you are also inhabiting. Around you are several tables and chairs. Annoyingly enough, there's not enough for all of the people who come, so for the majority of the time, you are going to be standing. If you are going to go to Immersive Gatsby, wear a shoe you are okay in standing in, because the likelihood of you standing to watch the production will honestly be the majority of it, and you are going to be walking around loads of different areas. Wear a shoe you are comfortable in. I know that you might want to go in, typical time period stuff, a nice little heel. Comfortable shoe. I wish I had come in a slightly more comfortable shoe. Now, this room is just the first of many different areas in Gatsby. The joy of this production is that the actors will weave through you and will even pick certain groups of people to come into different rooms around the experience. So you get to see different perspectives each time you see the show, and every time that you come, it's different. I think this is what gives Gatsby such a good rewatchability factor. But I think it also means that if you are going to see it, I would highly recommend knowing Gatsby beforehand. Luckily, I studied Great Gatsby in sixth form, so I had a good sense. It was just a little recap for me from the start that I kind of knew what was happening. And so if I missed an important detail, I wouldn't be too affected. The actors, however, if they have taken you off to a separate room, they will kind of fill you in. There's certain moments where we were with Jordan, for example, and we might have missed parts about the tea party that Gatsby wants to set up for Kim and Daisy. So the actors will often say, do you know about this? Do you know about this tea party that we're setting up? Do you know that she said yes? So if you miss these certain details, you are caught up. My mum, who I brought with me, my lovely mother, hi mum if you're watching, she was not overly versed with the story of Gatsby. She hasn't really read it, and if she knows bits about it, it's been so long that she's completely forgotten it. She did tell me that she felt it would have been easier if she knew Gatsby a little bit more. However, she did manage to follow the basic gist of it. They do kind of keep you together to see the important parts of the show. A lot of Act 2 does take place in the same room so that you kind of get the main point of the story across. Now, in my experience of Great Gatsby, I ended up a lot of the time being linked with Nick, with Jordan, and with Daisy. These were the main three actors that, for my journey, I ended up following the most. I didn't see much of Tom or Myrtle or Wilson in their kind of breakout rooms because I was mostly following these guys. I think on a second viewing, it's quite easy also to stand yourself in places where you'll be pulled off by other actors as well. Because a lot of it is chance and a lot of it is just knowing where to go or watching out for the actors trying to usher people along and trying to force yourself into that to join the actors or the parts of the story that you want to go into. However, we find ourselves in several different rooms. The first one of these, I was with Nick. He kind of gives us a few more details of the story in this small little room with a lot of sofas and a nice little makeup station. And then Tom comes in a little bit later. Another time, I came in just at the end of one of Tom and Myrtle's stories, as I was a part of a little entourage of about 6 people following around Jordan, who then led us into a small room with a bunch of clothes hanging up, which felt to be Daisy's room, as she's picking out a dress to go to the tea party in. There's a lot of moving around at Gatsby, and that's why I say bring a comfortable shoe. Make sure you bring a comfortable shoe. Get that comfortable shoe, put it on, because you're going to need it. You don't want to be walking around in a comfortable shoe, because you're going to be standing a lot of the time. This is my main feedback. Wear something comfortable. But I think this element of Gatsby is one of the most fun things because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know who you're going to be pulled off by. You don't know what elements of the story are going to be built up from. Of course, I saw it from the perspective of a certain group of characters. If I went again, which group of characters would I be with this time? What different elements of the story did I miss? I think that's what makes Gatsby really, really special and really interesting to watch. Because I know Gatsby and getting these certain elements of the story that they've kind of built in, so more perspective from Nick and more perspective from Daisy, these perspectives that you don't get when you just read the book and are kind of perfect to do in this kind of immersive experience. Because that's how I'd really describe Gatsby. I think it's less of a play and more of an experience. It's definitely more directed and more made for people who understand Gatsby and who really enjoy Gatsby. If you are a big fan of the film or the book, you are going to build on your Gatsby experience, not just see an adaptation of it. Now, let's talk about these performers, because I think the greatest thing about this is its performance. I actually had a lot of understudies on, and I've written them all down so that I can actually tell you which understudies I had on. Because honestly, understudies impress me on a normal day, but understudying for this type of performance must be extra difficult. Because not only are you telling the story of the play, you've also got to volley with people as these characters. You got to know all of the roles that you understudy extremely well. So for the performance I saw, we had Oliver Towse, who actually has played Gatsby before, but has come back for this specific performance to cover the role of Gatsby again. I had Sophia Lewis as Jordan Baker. I had Ewan Wilson as Rosie Rosenthal. And I had Greg Fossard as Nick Carraway. Now, all of these actors were amazing. I think Greg Fossard as Nick was one of my favourites. He definitely feels like the odd one out of these quite eccentric characters, the most down-to-earth one, as he'd like you to see him as. As I said, Rosie Rosenthal is the person who greets you into the production. And Ewan Wilson had a nice little bit of comedy. He really volleyed with the small group of us as we walked into the main area. I did actually see a lot of Sophia Lewis because I was part of her little entourage, and I thought she gave a fantastic performance as Jordan. She was really funny to talk to as well. But I think what's most to say is that these actors all really perfectly embody who these characters are. I think especially with an adaptation like this, and an adaptation where the audience can literally speak to the actors to get more insight, I think knowing the roles is very important, and they all pass with flying colours. Now, I must say that probably my only problem with Immersive Gatsby is that the first act feels a lot more immersive than the second. The majority of the second act, you are in one room. There's not many people being pulled off into different areas because they're having to play catch up, basically. They're having to catch up what the main gist of the story. I think that's its only weakness, and there were certain moments in the second act where I did get pulled away, where I did get to see different perspectives. But I think it is just a bit of a shame that it's a bit lesser in the second act, but it felt like a necessary evil to be able to tell this story effectively. Other than that, Immersive Gatsby is a very well polished immersive production. It gives you everything you could want from a production of Great Gatsby, from the iconic characters to the moments to all of the imagery as well. All of the moments that you could want from Gatsby are in this production and achieved incredibly well. If you want a really good, really well-made immersive production, which allows you to interact as little or as much as you want, this is it. If you're a fan of Gatsby, it's perfect for you. If you're a fan of immersive theatre, it's perfect for you. It really is just a very strong production. I had such a good time. And yes, I did get gifted this ticket, but honestly, I would go again. But have you experienced Great Gatsby? Let me know what you thought. Are you a fan of the books? Let me know. If you got nothing else, Rad, just put something else in the comments. It helps the algorithm. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting subscribe and liking the video. It really does help support the channel. And also helps me make more cool videos and stuff. Why wouldn't you want more of me? I'm great. But that's enough from me, old sport. I gotta go do something else. I don't know how to edit videos anymore. Editor Ellie, you come up with something. Yeah, just end the video.